क्वालिटी एजुकेशन गायब ही हो गई है। आपके बारे में काफी पढ़ा है मैंने, आपने सिविल सर्विसेज क्रैक किया, फिर आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट में लॉयर रहे, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि शायद आपसे भला कोई समझ सकता है कि एजुकेशन में और क्वालिटी एजुकेशन में डिफरेंस क्या होता है। तो अब क्या करना चाहेंगे आप कि ये जो लड़के निकल रहे हैं वो अच्छे इंजीनियर बने, उनको क्वालिटी एजुकेशन मिले?
बहुत भारी समस्या है, बहुत गंभीर समस्या है, और डिफरेंस तो साफ जाहिर है। डिफरेंस इज IIT Bombay and the 550 colleges in Uttar Pradesh. That's the difference. कौन एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस, कौन इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस यूपी में खोल रहा है? अब ये बार बार नहीं जानी चाहिए आपके बारे में। कौन खोल रहा है? पॉलिटिशियन का बेटा, बेटी, दामाद, बहन, ससुर।
के हर क्लर्क का एक इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज है।
अरे ड्राइवर के भी। प्रॉब्लम है कि उसकी अनुमति कौन देता?
AICT।
गलत, उसकी अनुमति राज्य सरकार देती। अगर मुझे कोई इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज बनाना है या कोई भी कॉलेज करना है, चाहे वो इंजीनियरिंग हो, नॉन इंजीनियरिंग हो, तो मुझे नो ऑब्जेक्शन किससे लेना पड़ता है? राज्य सरकार से। जब इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज बन जाए तो उसका जो रेगुलेशन है वो AICT करती है। तो जब वो बन जाता है तो फिर वो AICT के पास आते हैं कि साहब हमारा कॉलेज तो बन गया है, तो AICT पूछती है कि भैया तुम्हारे पास कितने टीचर्स हैं, कितनी कैपेसिटी है, तो उस समय वो टीचर्स हायर कर लेती है। उधर कितना फर्नीचर है, जब इंस्पेक्शन दी जाती है तो फर्नीचर हायर कर लेते हैं, ठीक है ना। तो जब इंस्पेक्शन वापस चले जाता है तो फर्नीचर भी वापस चले जाता है और टीचर भी वापस चले जाते हैं। 4 इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, एक जगह के टीचर हैं और चारों इंस्टीट्यूशंस में उनको दिखाते हैं। तो इस समस्या का सुधार करने के लिए हमने कई सुझाव सोचे हैं, और उसमें से जी एजुकेशन रिफॉर्म्स दैट आई हैव इनिशिएटेड, लाइक दी आई हैव इंट्रोड्यूस्ड व्हाट इज कॉल्ड दी accreditation authority bill and the education malpractices bill. See, we want to move away from the inspection raj of this country. पहले होता क्या था कि अभी भी होता है कि AICT अपने इंस्पेक्टर भेजती है, और जब इंस्पेक्टर भेजती है तो वहां धांधलेबाजी होती है, ठीक है ना। और रेगुलेटर जब इंस्पेक्टर बन जाता है तो वो काम कभी सही हो ही नहीं सकता। तो वी वांट टू एक्चुअली मूव, keep regulation in AICT, in other words, determination of minimum standards by AICT, UGC or whatever, NCP or whatever. And we want to have professional agencies set up by the state government and the central government to do accreditation. So in fact, we have, in the first year of my becoming a minister, I formulated 5 or 6 bills to deal with the issue that you're talking about. Exactly that. अब उसमें यह है कि मैंने 1 साल में बिल तो बना दिए और इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिए, 2.5 साल स्टैंडिंग कमेटी में लग गए, ठीक है, और 3.5 साल तो इस बात को हो गए। और जब स्टैंडिंग कमेटी में गया बिल तो उससे पहले बड़ी बातचीत हुई, स्टेट एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर से बात की, उन्होंने अनुमति दे दी, सेक्रेटरी से बात की, उन्होंने अनुमति दे दी, स्टैंडिंग कमेटी में गया और 2.5 साल के बाद कहा कि बिल्कुल बिल ठीक है, ठीक है। और अभी हाल ही में 4 दिन पहले पार्लियामेंट में लगा, पार्लियामेंट में विरोध हो गया। हमने कहा भाई विरोध किस बात का, जब स्टैंडिंग कमेटी ने हाँ कर दी, एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर्स ने हाँ कर दी, सेक्रेटरीज ने हाँ कर दी, अब विरोध कैसे हो गया? इसे स्टैंडिंग कमेटी जो मर्जी करे, हम विरोध करते हैं। तो प्रॉब्लम यह है कि जब तक पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज अपने देश और अपने बच्चों के भविष्य के बारे में नहीं सोचेगी, तब तक इसका सुधार नहीं होने वाला।
सर, सबसे गंभीर परिणाम यह है कि स्टेट इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज से निकलने वाले इंजीनियर्स चाइनीज नेचर बन जाते हैं।
What would be the vision for just the second run below the IITs? Right now, the difference between the NITs and IITs is artificially widened.
No, that is true. Ultimately, unless we have the accreditation process in place, we cannot succeed, because accreditation requires first the infrastructure to be built, the faculty to be in place. Then the question of quality of the courses will come, and that under the bill we'll look at after 6 years after 2 batches have passed, we'll look at the accreditation process. But at least the basics has to be there. Today, one-room institutions are being run, and when they go out, first of all, फर्जी degrees भी देते हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश को खास तौर पे फर्जी डिग्री देते हैं, for which I have introduced another legislation. Like we have dematting of certificates. We will demat all the degrees in this country. ताकि कोई धांधला कर ही नहीं सके. Every degree will be dematted and will be put in a repository.
Good afternoon, sir. I wanted to ask, don't you think improving the school education is a better way to eradicate the coaching system than decreasing the level of entrance exams?
But you must give importance to school education.
That's what. So don't you think improving school education would help?
No, but that's exactly what we are trying to do. I mean, first of all, again, let me tell you a constitutional issue. Remember, in this country there are about 39 boards. Tamil Nadu at one stage at about 4th board, if I am not mistaken. Many states have, have their own boards. So school education again is under the control of state governments. Each board has its own exam. If I want to standardize something and say this should be the quality across the country, they say it is an attack on the federal structure of India. Right? Now what do we do then? So we have a CBSE system where there is an affiliation where the quality is pretty good. Then we got to the state boards, the quality is pretty bad, but we can't control it. So there's an entity called COPSE, Council for Boards of School Education, which is the council for all the boards of the country. We asked them to pass what is called a core curriculum in science, so that core curriculum can be adopted in every school in the country. That has been done after the efforts that I have made. But the quality has to be actually at the school board level and at the state board level. And unless the states participate in that, there's going to be no quality. And once we improve quality in the school sector, then you have a high quality examination in class 12, then of course this problem does not arise, because you will get good students into the university system. But of course we have to control the university system as well. But that's happening. I think the quality in schools is improving, and I think it will take us a few years with the Right to Education Act. Both quality as well as access is moving forward in a big way.
Hello, Mr. Honorable Minister. I am Ali Hakim Elahi. I'm an Iranian PhD student, and I have completed my MTech in 2011, and then joined PhD program from last year. I'm very happy and feel like home at the Prestige University of India during the last 3 years. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here. I want to make some point with your permission. Sir, in the last 8 years, we had 4 ministers in Iranian government who were graduated from India. So you can estimate the value of Indian degree in Iran. Sir, in 2006, more than 10,000 Iranian students were registered for postgraduate, but this year, the number decreased to less than 4,000 in all India. As more students have joined program in Malaysia for postgraduate, which was 2,000 postgraduate students in year 2006, and now it is more than 16,000. The quality of education in Malaysia is far less as compared to here. I think the primary reason for this change in favorite destination are Indian complex visa and academic registration rules, and maybe no direct university to university or campus to campus program or contact. Second point, sir, I have one more suggestion. This is very particular to IITs. IITs should offer a scholarship for foreign postgraduate students like European and American university and institute. Third point is about dollar and rupees rate and exchange. We had a sharp change in recent months. So I suggest you to kindly revise the fee amount for foreign students in IITs or in India. Thank you.
This is actually, he raises a very important point. In all our press and everywhere we talk about these university rating systems. And if you look at any of these ratings, the IITs there are two metrics on which we suffer very poorly. One is the students, international students and international faculty. So what is it that we as a country can do to attract international students to our premier institutes? I mean, adding on to that.
The answer to that is that you have to have world-class residential facilities for students. And for faculty. No. This is my policy.
We will rent a...
No, you see. No, you don't have to. This is the problem. You guys do a lot of out-of-the-box thinking in technology, but when it comes to construction, you don't do any thinking at all. I tell you the way out. Get into a public-private partnership. Get land from the state government near IIT Bombay. Get hold of other institutions around the area. Through public-private partnership, build the residential accommodation, which is world-class. The private sector will build it, the students will pay for it, and you will get world-class accommodation for the students of this country. No problem. Why do you have to get into PWD construction or CPWD or whatever? You don't have. You shouldn't involve yourself in that. Farm it out. The entrepreneur will get money. The foreign students will not be hesitant to pay. They'll get world-class facilities. All you have to ensure is transportation for them from wherever they are staying to the university and to the IIT system. On three of your questions, on the first one, I'll have to call the foreign minister here. So when I call him next, to ask him that question on the visa, because I have no control over it. On the question of the rupee rate, I think that will change hopefully once we are allowed to function in this country. And of course, I think that it is very unfortunate because we have world-class institutions in this country and we are still not attracting people. Let me tell you a figure which you perhaps don't know. This time when I was in the United States, we had a summit with the Secretary of State there. And in the course of our discussions, one of the faculty members told that, American students would love to come to India to study. And this is for the first time that I heard anybody say that in the United States of America. And the reason is simple. They have, the outstanding student loans in America is over $1 trillion, which is unpaid. Nobody in middle class, lower middle class America can afford higher education in that country anymore. Because the cost is anywhere between $60,000 to $120,000. They're looking for havens where they can get the same quality education at half or one-third the cost or one-fourth the cost. Now we have a great opportunity here to provide that education, and I think we should seize that opportunity. That's the solution to the problem. But thank you for being here.
Professor, so talking in the medical sector parlance, India has a very bad doctor-to-patient ratio. And this is primarily because of the high donation system that is going on in the private medical college admissions systems. So this is making it practically impossible for a normal student to get through. So don't you think that medical sector deserves a priority solution over engineering at this stage?
No, I don't think you have any priority solutions over one over the other, because I think that in parallel we have to take the country forward. But I think medical education is an entirely different problem altogether. It's not going to be solved by government giving priority. Remember, these are market-related issues. First of all, medical education doesn't come under my domain. Since you've asked the question, I will try and answer it. What's the market after a person becomes a doctor? And what's the market after a person does IIT Bombay? It's entirely different. There are no job opportunities in the medical sector. Either he can do private practice or he gets a government job. In the government job, nobody wants a government job. Yeah, because then your juniors get promoted. And so you don't want to suffer all that. And nobody wants the risk of private practice. So the market opportunities in the healthcare system are far less than the market opportunities in the engineering system. Because engineers can do anything at all. But medical doctors find no opportunities. So I think that's the reason why you have the very skewed ratio of doctors to patients. Yes.
Honorable Minister, I would like to put a question. As we see that there is a continuous decline in the number of students pursuing post-graduation and PhD program. One of the reasons behind it is very low scholarship which is being given to the students. It is rupees 8,000 per month. And the fees of MTech, that is per semester, is rupees 30,000. And so they could not be able to afford for the fees, and they could not pay for their books in case they need any. So should scholarship be revised for students who want to pursue?
I think we've increased the fellowship money of late. We've increased it. I don't know what the amount is, but we have increased it. But let me tell you, the facts are somewhat different. How many postgraduates do you have in IIT Bombay? How many people are doing doctorates? 1,500. In IIT Bombay itself, it was never the case. It was never the case. If you look at all the engineering institutions in this country, the top engineering institutions, the number of people doing research, postdocs and docs have increased exponentially. And Anil Kakotkar, we set up a committee as to what should be our aim. And by 2017 or 2020, we should be producing anywhere between 15,000 and more graduates or more doctorates in this country from the IIT system itself. So I think that things are looking up. You see, what used to happen, and this is the problem, it's a historical issue. All you guys used to do BTech and then go abroad to Silicon Valley and to places like that because there were no research opportunities in India. There was no research funding that was available, no research grants that were available, right? And therefore you had to go abroad for higher education, and then you got absorbed in the economy there. But that's changing now. There's huge funds with institutions in research, and we're giving a lot of funds through the UGC system and through other systems, right? And therefore all that is changing. Lots of people are coming back from America, not as faculty members, but also doing research in this country because the research funding is improved. It's not the ideal situation, but once we get our growth up to 8-9%, the next decade or so, you have enormous opportunities for, and that's where higher research and education would be exceptionally attractive.
So I have a question. So there are two parts to the question. First question is that why is our reservation system on the basis of social categories instead of economic categories? And my second part of the question is that, say if in a family, if some person has utilized that this particular system, that say if I'm belonging to a reserve category, if I'm an SC student, and if my son is also going to be an SC student, he's going to utilize the same level of resources, then do you think it is fair? So these two parts of the question, if you could answer.
So let's first ask the first. Let me answer the first part of the question first. Reservation is a constitutional prescription, right? It's not an executive prescription. It's not a decision of the government of India. When Article 15 and 16 were set out in the Constitution, Article 15 relates to reservations in educational institutions. Article 16 of the Constitution relates to reservation in employment. And the phrase used was scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and educationally backward classes. Right? Now we can't get out of that phrase. I can't include something in 15 which doesn't exist in 15. I can't include something in 16 which doesn't exist in 16. So there's a constitutional prescription and impediment. It's not that I don't want to do it, and it's not my interpretation, this is the Supreme Court of India's interpretation, that educationally backward communities does not include economic criteria for every community. Therefore, reservation can't be given on that basis. That's the law of the Supreme Court of India, not law of the not executive orders of the government of India. So there's an enormous misgiving, which is why the clapping here, that as if the government is doing something wrong. It has nothing to do with the government. Okay, that's the answer to your first question. The answer to your second question is that once somebody has got reservation, why should a member of the family? Now, Meera Kumar is the speaker of our country, right? She got into the foreign service through the reserve category, but her children don't get reservation. There's again a Supreme Court judgment. If you are part of the creamy layer, in other words, if you're in the IAS, in the IPS, member of your family in the IAS or the IPS, or there's an income criteria that the Supreme Court has set up, that if the income of the family or the individual is X amount, you're out of the reservation system. So both your questions are based on misconceptions. One, a constitutional misconception, and the other a misconception that anybody in the family is entitled to reservation. That's not so. That's laid down by the Supreme Court.
So just continuing on that, in the first one, can't the government make an amendment to those
You have a constitutional amendment. Nobody will allow it. That's the problem. You must come into politics and understand these things. So now instead of going to become an engineer, come into the Congress party.
माननीय मंत्री महोदय, जैसा कि आप देख सकते हैं कि छात्रों की तुलना में बहुत कम छात्राओं का अनुपात।
आप बैठ जाइए, आपको अच्छा नहीं लगता कि आप करिए।
लेकिन आप ही खड़े तो
नहीं, मेरा तो अच्छा लगता है।
तो ये कम छात्राओं की ओर से ही मैं आपका हार्दिक स्वागत करती हूँ। महोदय, किसी भी देश के स्वर्णिम भविष्य का आधार अगर महिलाओं को शिक्षा के माध्यम से जागृत करना है, तो मेरा आपसे विनम्र निवेदन है कि आप कृपया इस बात की ओर ध्यान दें कि प्राथमिक शिक्षा से लेकर उच्च शिक्षा तक उन्हें वो समुचित वातावरण उपलब्ध हो जिसमें कि वो बगैर किसी तनाव के या बगैर किसी अवसाद के अध्ययन कर सकें। तो इसी संदर्भ में आपका ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहती हूँ महिला छात्रावासों की ओर। यहाँ पर महिला छात्रावास की स्थिति आपकी कल्पना से कहीं ज्यादा बदतर है और इसके लिए हमने एक पत्र भी आपको लिखा है, अपनी पिटीशन भी हमने दायर की है और साथ ही आप एक फाइल भी हमने बनाई है। महोदय, आपसे मैं ये बताना चाहूंगी कि ऐसा नहीं, हम IIT प्रशासन के ऊपर कोई सवाल खड़ा नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम आपकी सरकार के ऊपर भी कोई सवाल खड़ा नहीं कर रहे हैं। हमारा सिर्फ एक ही अनुरोध है कि इस एक समयावधि में सीटों को बढ़ाए जाने की घोषणा की जाती है, क्या उस समयावधि में छात्रावासों के निर्माण की योजना पर सुचारू रूप से सोचा महिला छात्रावासों में ये 3 प्रकार जो है छात्राओं को आप एडजस्ट करा जा रहा है और ये एडजस्टमेंट सर स्पोर्ट्स रूम में, टीवी रूम में, जो डॉर्मेट्रीज है जहाँ पर कपड़े सुखाए जाने की जगह है वहां पे हमारी छात्राएं रह रही हैं और बहुत बुरी हालत में रह रही हैं। इसके लिए कोई दोषी नहीं है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं योजनाओं में जो लूप होल्स हैं उनकी ओर देखे जाने की जरूरत है, जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में जो लूप होल्स है उनकी ओर देखे जाने की जरूरत है। एक चीज और है कि पिछले कुछ महीनों में ऐसा निर्णय लिया गया कि चूंकि छात्राओं के लिए समुचित आवास उपलब्ध नहीं है, इसलिए प्रोजेक्ट स्टाफ में छात्राओं को नहीं लिया जाएगा। हमारा डर ये है कि क्योंकि मैं स्नातकोत्तर कर रही और शोध छात्राओं वाले छात्रावास से यहाँ पर आई हूँ, तो मेरा डर ये है कि कहीं ना कहीं कल ये हमारा तथाकथित एकोमोडेशन क्राइसिस हमारी स्नातकोत्तर की सीटों के ऊपर भी सवाल ना खड़ा कर दे। तो मेरा आपसे अनुरोध है कि कृपया आप फाइल देखें, पत्र देखें और अगर आपको लगता है तो
पहली बात तो मैं आश्वासन देता हूँ कि जो आपने मुद्दा उठाया है, पहली बात तो मैं उससे असहमत नहीं हूँ और मैं इनसे साथ बैठ के निर्णय लेंगे हम कि इसको आगे कैसे बढ़ाया जाए। लेकिन अगर ये बातें नहीं मानते तो पिटीशन जो आपने मुझे दी है ना, मेरे दोनों बेटे वकील हैं, हम उनसे पिटीशन करवा देंगे। सच में this is a very serious matter and I don't think that the opportunities.
I think the project staff has been reversed. That it was temporary.
No, and in fact, Government of India is extremely sensitive to the concerns that you have raised. In fact, in our policies, we are paying special emphasis to education for women, and in fact, we are specially building residential accommodation for women. And I think that any institution, if it wants to move forward with equity, must ensure that not just that the representation of women remains the same, but it is increased exponentially, so that the 50% of the population gets equal representation within the IIT and other systems.
सच में तो उनका ये population एकाएक बढ़ने से छोटा हुआ। Success story that we got from.
But it is the problem of our planning.
It will be good. So they are there.
It will be
Good.
Sir, just adding on to the point, sir.
Yes.
Yes. So just adding on to the question that she was raising, a lot of times, let's say, starting from reservations, the number of seats were increased. I can see for a fact that in IIT Bombay, the infrastructure has not been able to keep pace with the rising number of students, and that has, caused problems across the board, whether it's in terms of, the hostel facilities, etc., etc. So why is, such a rush made in terms of implementing the policies, especially when the infrastructure is, not that much in place?
It's like there's been a lot of popular support for that, I see. But remember, that when we sit in government, it's like China. When China built its huge mammoth structures, there was no demand for these structures. Right? right? If China had taken a policy decision consistent with your course of thinking, unless there was demand, there was no point to build these structures, right? There was no demand in China, so why build Beijing or why build Shanghai? Because there were no takers. But they created the demand by building the structures, right? So it's a policy prescription. I can't wait till such time as we build the infrastructure for demand to come in so that we expand the facility. The fact of the matter is there is a crying need out there. You don't understand the mood of the community because you are cocooned here. You are the best of the best, as I said, the creme de la creme. You don't understand. Of the 220 million children who go to school, how many children reach college? Do you have any idea? You don't. Well, let me tell you. Out of 100 children in the age group of 18 to 24, about 17 reach college. Just college. 83 never reach. Many of them don't get opportunities. Many of them don't have the economic capacity. They can't send their children to school. If they send their children to school, they drop out. They don't ever go to class 10. If they go to class 10, they don't ever go to class 12. If they go to 12, they don't have the money to pay for their education. Right? We need to change that. There's no country in the world that can move forward with a gross enrollment ratio of 70. The global average is 27. Sub-Saharan Africa is 6. United States of America is 60 to 70. Europe is 40. Right? So we need to expand. We need to give those opportunities to people. So we need to hugely invest in infrastructure so that we increase capacity as quickly as possible. These are teething problems that will take place. You and I are part of the system. You guys can't just think of yourself. Think of the 87% who are out. Think of their mindset. They don't have places to go to. They don't have institutions to go to. They don't have wherewithal to go to. Yes, you are right. These are problems. This is happening in every university. Delhi University also the same thing. Other universities the same thing. But the fact is that we are slowly, 3, 4, 5 years time, we will adjust. But the fact is many more children are getting into the IIT system now. All the new institutions they are created, they are being mentored. It'll take some time. They won't be as good as IIT Bombay. But 5, 10, 15 years time, they'll be okay. But if we were to wait till such time as we build the infrastructure, nothing would happen. And we can't wait. This is an opportunity for 12 years. That's all that we have. Chali.
My question is that we have, what are the opportunities that engineers can have in the development sector working with the government, similar to PMRDF? Because PMRDF has only 25 seats throughout the country. So something at the state level in which implementation of programs has a lot of technical bottlenecks, which if engineers are employed, they can...
Well, I'm sure, state governments should have schemes, and I don't know what the Maharashtra government schemes are in this.
We have a concept note by our HOD, he has put it forward.